What's good? It's Woog. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are into the fight talk. We are continuing our best of 2021 awards lists and winners, which include top 10 pound for pound, trainer of the year, upset of the year, knockout of the year, fight of the year, performance of the year, and fighter of the year. Thus far, we've covered the first 5. Now we are getting into performance of the year. And there are several candidates. I'm just going to rattle off a few of them. Josh Taylor's win over Jose Ramirez to become undisputed at 140. Tyson Fury's KO over Wilder in their trilogy fight. George Kambosos' huge boxing world shocking upset of Teofimo Lopez. Terrence Crawford becoming the first fighter to stop former 2-time champ at welterweight Sean Porter. Alexander Usyk defeating Anthony Joshua. Oscar Valdez's knockout of then champ Miguel Berchelt. Boxed his ears off at first, then finished him. Canelo turned in 3 really good performances, 2 versus elite or near elite fighters. Won all of his 3 fights this year via knockout against Yildirim, because he fought Callum Smith at the end of 2020 technically, but Yildirim, and then Billy Joe Saunders, and then Caleb Plant. Virgil Ortiz had 2 good wins versus Maurice Hooker and Me Machine Kavayaskis. Both ended in TKOs. Fellow welterweight prospect contender Jaron Boots Ennis also had 2 very impressive wins versus Sergey Lipinets and Thomas Delorme. He finished both of his opponents as well. Lomachenko had 2 excellent performances versus Nakatani and Richard Comey. Shakur Stevenson had that outstanding stoppage win over Jamel Herring. Yordenis Ugas beat Manny Pacquiao. Man, I wish that Errol Spence versus Pacquiao fight happened. That was so disappointing. But yeah, who said boxing is dead? I mean, just the performances that I rattled off. Devin Haney had 2 quality wins versus very good fighters, Jorge Linares and Joseph Diaz. Tank Davis's win over Mario Barrios was impressive, but it's kind of harder to quantify or basically to assess how good of a win it was because he did fight another division up, super challenging, but versus a guy who is still unproven and it wasn't considered elite in his division. So those are the candidates that I'm working with right now, but the winner is Alexander Usyk defeating Anthony Joshua via unanimous decision. And look, it's a mix of like the upset. Like you could say that Valdez versus Berchelt might have been a bigger upset than Usyk over Anthony Joshua. By the way, another very good performance was Sandor Martins, improbable. Big time improbable win over Mikey Garcia. But Alexander Usyk versus Anthony Joshua, the stakes were so high. The event was so immense. It's an Anthony Joshua fight. You know, the experts, even if they thought Usyk was going to give Anthony Joshua some trouble because of his, he unified all 4 titles at cruiserweight. And he's like the sweet science guy who's trained by Lomachenko's dad, Anatoly Lomachenko. And he's basically a cruiserweight / heavyweight-ish version of Lomachenko. But nobody was going on record, really, as saying, I think Alexander Usyk is going to win the fight. Look, I know I'm missing some commentator. Let me know who I'm missing. The one I could think of who did go on record is Richard Dwyer. But yeah, most people thought that not only was Anthony Joshua going to win, but he was going to eventually get the stoppage over Usyk. And not only did Usyk outbox him and win a very convincing decision, and hurt him late in the fight, hurt him early in the fight. It was the middle where Anthony Joshua seemed like he might turn things around, but Usyk got right on him in the first round and just, was fainting, pop, and just landing clean shots, jolting Joshua's head back. And then all the way towards the end of the fight, he almost finishes Joshua, so he finishes the fight super strong, but he beat him so badly that people are looking at AJ like, you sure you want to exercise that rematch clause? It might not be a good idea to get right back in the ring with this guy. That's how convincing of a win Usyk had over Joshua, and that's how great a performance he displayed and showcased. I mean, sure, it's going to be interesting to see the betting odds if this rematch does get made. And of course, you're not going to count Anthony Joshua out. And there's the feeling of, man, if you only just used your size or just ran up on him and just kind of George Foreman just kind of slugged him, go to the body, just jab him to death and just make sure you keep on hitting to the body early and often. if you think that he's going to pick up like a Derek Chisora-like approach against Usyk, you know, that's kind of the idea that people have as the version of Anthony Joshua that would beat or should beat, you would think, Usyk. Yeah, it's a lot of people scratching their heads thinking, I don't know. Usyk might beat him even more convincingly in the rematch, and that's because of how good he looked in the first fight against Anthony Joshua. So yeah, great performances from many. Josh Taylor's, like, take nothing away from his undisputed win over Jose Ramirez, and Terrence Crawford. My goodness, like, he made the adjustments, you know, in flight as he often does, and he was the one who, besides maybe Kell Brook and to an extent Keith Thurman, like, no, Terrence Crawford truly started to use what Shawn Porter's techniques are against him by the end of that fight, catching him cleanly, dropping him twice, just putting him on his butt in a way that we hadn't seen Shawn Porter in trouble and hurt and like, hey, I mean, we thought that it was a questionable stoppage, the way that Kenny Porter, Shawn Porter's dad/trainer, stopped the fight. But yeah, nobody was really arguing against it because we saw how quickly the tide started turning in that one. A very competitive fight, you know, before the stoppage, where some people even might have had Shawn Porter up on the cards. But my performance of 2021 goes to Alexander Usyk defeating Anthony Joshua via unanimous decision. But yeah, let me know what you think is the best performance of the year in the comments. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are into the fight talk. I'm Woog. Thanks again for tuning in.